Hey, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor, and I have the forecast for the United States for May 2024. And it's a very interesting forecast. It's short, sweet, and pretty much to the point. Before I jump into it, let me mention, if you hadn't heard, I am offering a special, a May special. Uh, so if you've wanted to have me interpret your chart, um, go to my website, MaxineTaylor.com, check it out, and get yourself squared away either with yourself or for the coming months, 6 months, 12 months. So I think you'll enjoy it. I'm offering special pricing for the birth chart, for the 6-month forecast, for the year forecast, and for the face-to-face session with me on Zoom. So I look forward to helping you navigate the coming year. So let's talk about what all's going on. Now, I want to remind you that those of you who study astrology, the houses of the zodiac in a mundane chart, that means a country's chart, are interpreted a little differently than in your own personal birth chart. And I'm going to go over these, every planet that is involved in what I consider to be a very interesting month. All right. So let me just jump in here and share it with you. As you can see, this is the month of May for the United States. And we have a new moon in the 12th house. We have the sun in the 12th house. And then on the 26th through the 29th, the sun moves into our first house. So I'm going to take it slowly, step by step, and I'll share this with you. Okay. For those of you who are not familiar with mundane houses, the 12th house in a mundane chart deals with all things hidden and behind the scenes. It deals with bribery, spies, hidden enemies, prison, jails. Now this, I'm describing it across the board because there are people that we have from other countries who are incarcerated here and vice versa. So this can be a very important time for our citizens who were jailed and still are imprisoned. Okay, so prison, jail, hospitals, crime, and criminals, of course, charitable institutions, seclusion, secret societies and organizations. This is huge. Okay. And welfare. Now, with that introduction, let's go back over here to the sun, which is the giver of life. Wherever the sun is, it's the center of our world. It has been in the 12th house, which means there have been a great many behind the scenes negotiations. I mean, that's just a given, of course. And the sun, the giver of life, can give life to those areas that I discussed, prisons, jails, prisoners, etc., hospitals, spies. When I see in a mundane chart, a country's chart, that there's a lot going on in the 12th house. This can be the best thing for the country because they negotiate. And a lot of times people get upset, the citizens get upset because they want to know what's going on behind the scenes. Sometimes things move along a lot quicker if it is behind the scenes. I hope I'm making sense to you. I would love to know what's going on. And maybe somebody will write a book at some point. But right now, if we get prisoner exchanges, if we get our citizens out of jail in foreign countries, I would be absolutely delighted not to insist that they tell us what goes on. All righty. So the sun is, excuse me, guys, in the 12th house of behind the scenes activities. Then on the 26th of May through the 29th, the sun moves into the United States first house. Now, for those of you who study astrology, you know that the first house in your chart is your physical body. It's the most personal point in the chart. In a mundane chart, it deals with the attitude of the people and the political mood of the people. It also deals with public health. Now, there are several United States charts that different astrologers prefer. I like the Gemini rising. It's got Uranus on the ascendant, and I think it describes our country. So the sun is going to sit on our ascendant and Uranus. Uranus is the rebel. And so when in the first house, when the sun crosses the ascendant and hits Uranus, there can be explosions from the people, but the sun is the giver of life. It is a positive planet. And so we may find that the picketing that we're doing, and we do have freedom of speech, thank God, in the United States. This can bring about a positive change in the attitude of the people, the citizenry. Now, there's always somebody who, is just a little off. So I'm not going to predict that everything's going to be hunky-dory, but there is a liberation on some level, an explanation of a certain rebellion. But because the sun heals, I'm not gonna say it's going to be terrible, because I am hoping that even though we're talking about massive amounts of people, it will be positive. Now, in addition, we have a new moon, and a new moon is when everything starts happening. Today, we are in the dark of the moon, right now, this minute, and things are not happening. The new moon will take place either on the 7th or the 8th, depending on your time zone. And it is in 18 degrees of Taurus in the 12th house. And that is when private negotiations start moving forward. So we're talking about one more day, because Mercury is still in the shadow of the retrograde, and it's taken me a while to get to this particular forecast for you. Thank you for your patience, by the way, all of you, because you know that I'm going to do a forecast on the US chart. And so thank you for your patience. I know you understand. The new moon ushers in a time when this 12th house is activated, period, bottom line. 2 weeks later, after the sun has sat on Uranus, And that can be explosive, but it doesn't have to be negative. I hope I'm being clear on this, okay? Some of you may have the sun conjunct Uranus in your birth chart. You know that it's not necessarily negative, okay? Then 2 weeks after the new moon, we have a full moon, and that's when things come to a head. On May 23rd in 3 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, I'm going to normally in a person's chart, that sixth house is work, health, and service. It is still work, health, and service in a mundane chart, but let's talk about what we pull in a country's chart. The military, health, jobs, civil servants, pets, food, almost lost my place there, animals, police and fire departments. In other words, civil servants. So there is a coming to ahead with that area of life. It may very well be that our civil servants want more money. I know that's ridiculous. Of course they want more money. And so this full moon can bring that to a head. And I choose to look at things positively. A lot of people don't. They don't want to do it positively. They want war. I want peace. Those of you who know me know I want love amongst all people and peace amongst all people. Okay, so that's the sun. Now, let's talk about Venus. Venus is love. Venus is beauty. Venus is what we call the lesser benefic. We've got 2 really good guys in the zodiac. Jupiter is the greater benefic. It's expansion, it's money, it's optimism. And Venus is also money, it's beauty, it's love. And here's Venus behind the scenes, working behind the scenes, which tells me that for the time that Venus is in that 12th house, there can be loving negotiations. Will we ever know about them? I don't know. But it's right here. And it thrills me to pieces because that is what I'm looking for. And again, the same 12th house, bribery, criminals, hospitals, all kind of stuff that really need to be handled behind the scenes. The 12th house deals with hidden enemies. And with Venus in the 12th house, it gives me a lift because it's not like arguing or fighting. It's about coming together, and it already started happening a little bit. Working bipartisanly, working for the good of the whole privately, lovingly. That is what we're talking about. Now, on the 29th through the 31st, Venus moves into that first house and brings love. Now it sits on Uranus, the rebel. So there can be a change in the kind of rebelling that's been going on. I love that. I think it's terrific. And I've studied astrology long enough to know that when people work together for the common good, things happen beautifully. So those are the first two. All right, I'm gonna keep on going here. Now, Mercury, what we think about and talk about. And of course, we are still under the retrograde shadow. Mercury is not retrograde anymore, but it is in the shadow. And that's why it feels like it's still retrograde. Okay? This is the time to tie up loose ends. So Mercury is in our, and has been in our 11th house. Let me share with you what the 11th house in the United States chart rules. Congress, congressmen and women, legislation, the Treasury, city and county councils, friendships. Mercury is not an active planet. It doesn't do stuff. It's a they're not working as a team again. It is a communication planet, talking, sharing ideas. And then on the 9th, just a couple of days, it too moves into that 12th house. And there's a lot of behind the scenes negotiating. This can be incredibly positive, but Mercury is a neutral planet. Those of you who study astrology know that. Talk can be cheap, and talk can be wonderful. So Mercury is going to stay in that 12th house of hidden enemies and hospitals and criminals and all kind of behind the scenes negotiations. Okay, as if that were not enough, look at here. Jupiter, the great benefic, is in the 12th house. Mars, the warrior, the fighter, is in the 12th house. So let's just see. We got the sun. We got Venus. We got Mercury. And we've got Jupiter and Mars. This is a time when there will be a lot of negotiation. Jupiter is truth. Jupiter is God's law, and Jupiter is money. And so there can be a certain exchange behind the scenes because we're talking about the 12th house, right? Hidden. Mars. Mars is passion. Mars fights with and fights for what it believes in. And so there can be arguing. However, Mars speeds things up. Rather than waiting years, we can make progress behind the scenes. And this can deal with criminals. It can deal with prisoners. It can deal with our hidden enemies. As I've mentioned, I'm going to read that 12th house again so that you all appreciate the fact that we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets in the 12th house. Bribery, spies, hidden enemies, prison, prisoners, jail, hospitals, crime and criminals. We got a couple of those around. Charitable institutions, seclusion, the past, secret societies and organizations. We had that last January. And welfare. So, fingers crossed, hold the thought. If you are a light worker, if you are an empath, a psychic, a healer, and you have a group, send out love to our planet, to anything that you feel passionate about. There's so much going on in so many countries. If you want peace and you want love, claim it. Claim it. I do. If you've been to my full moon ceremonies, you know that's what we do. We claim it. So that's my forecast for May. Stay tuned and join me next month, because everything's going to be in the first house then. So till we meet again, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours and your country. Bye for now, my dear friends.